Greetings and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to discuss 5 things that I will never understand about the narcissist. Ponder these questions with me, these mysteries, and let me see what you think about it in the comments below. So, look, there's a lot that we know about the narcissist. I make videos about this all the time. There are other channels, of course, that are doing this. You guys are thinking through it on your own. Some of you might even have channels or do writings about it. And hopefully everybody's helping somebody else that's gone through this because, guys, I bump into people. You just wouldn't believe how often I bump into people and they're dealing with this same thing. It seems like every person I encounter, guy, girl, whatever, when you get to talking about this at all, they've got it going on in their lives or they have. It's so rampant. So, for all that we know about them, their practices, their playbook, that they all run off the script. They're like kind of robotic carbon copies of the devil, which is what they are. We can understand their practices, all the tricks, the manipulation, lying, cheating, triangulating, the playbook of how they love bomb and devalue and discard and hoover, and we get that. But there are still a lot of mysteries and enigmas that I don't think I'll ever understand. So I got 5 of them for you. Let's start with number one. I do not fundamentally understand why some of them chose to go this route in life. The first, the major narc that I experienced, she grew up in a situation where bad parenting to no parenting, absentee father, highly manipulative, toxic mother, grandparents largely raised her, no supervision to speak of, poor family life, not somewhat impoverished background, lower middle class at best, and manipulation around her. So, in a sense, you can understand why someone in that situation becomes manipulative. I'm not excusing it. I think everybody has a choice. Everybody makes decisions. Plenty of people grow up in that situation. I know plenty, and they don't become narcissists. But you can somewhat more understand it. The thing I don't get is the other side I've experienced. Someone who grows up in a good family, solid house, wanted for nothing. The siblings didn't become narcissists. They didn't have any sort of major, horrible, traumatic childhood experiences. They just grew up and became narcissists. And that's what I don't know that I'll ever understand. Why they chose that path. They had so many opportunities, and they all do, but these types especially had so many opportunities. They didn't have any valid reason why they would have become manipulative. Again, they had a good house, good home, 2 parents, or at least one really good parent, whatever. And how in the world did they choose to go this route? What made them decide, with all the relative peace and normalcy around me, I think I'm going to be as toxic and manipulative as I can possibly be, to the point where these types become just as dark and evil as the one who grew up in a highly toxic environment. A narc is a narc at the end of the day. They have different ways, little methods and tweaks, but they all are absolutely rotten evil. The only explanation, possibly to me, this is somewhat more the golden child narcissist, is just, I guess, they just weren't held to account. They weren't accountable. They weren't held, they didn't have boundaries. They were used to getting away with whatever they did. They got whatever they wanted. They were spoiled. But then there's that range in between. They weren't super spoiled. They weren't super undervalued. They just chose to do this. And that doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if I'll ever understand that. Number two, I don't understand why they tell the truth sometimes. I have some ideas, I'll share them with you, but it's still mysterious to me why they tell the truth. Drop comments below. I've had people reach out to me and say, well, why did the narcissist tell me this? Which was a truth. Why would they do that? So they'll say things like, you are the bar. I'll compare everyone to you. You were my greatest chance. I blew it with you. I sabotaged things with you. They'll say, I can't afford to lose this relationship. And oftentimes they mean it. They they're not always just saying these things. You know the difference. You know there are things the narcissist told you that are valid. Like when they admit sometimes that they self-sabotage, they blow up the relationships. It's primarily their fault. They'll tell you that. And then it's like in true form, there's this other person who exists the rest of the time that pretends that it's not them. It's always everybody else. Everyone else was the narcissist. It wasn't their fault. I don't know. Why do they do this? Is it their residual humanity that remains? Like something good left in them? They're still kind of human. They're not entirely devoid of all humanity. So maybe it's that little piece of humanity left that sometimes tells the truth. Is it that the truth is just used as another manipulation? Like you can use the truth to manipulate people too in different ways if you think about it. Now, like for example, I'll give you one. You you blew the relationship up, the narcissist blew the relationship up rather, and then they're going to tell you afterwards, you really are the best person I've ever been with. You're a good man, you're a good woman. You deserve better. The narcissist told me, I don't blame you. There are a lot of women out there that are at least partially sane. That was a true thing. But why do they tell you that? Is it possible that they say it because that will also throw a stone in your shoe? Because this very thing right now, you're stuck asking yourself, why did they tell me that? If they knew I was so good or they knew this was their best chance, why did they blow it up? And you think to yourself, are they figuring it out? Like, are they getting it right? Do they know the truth and maybe there's some chance here? Is that just a manipulation tactic on their part? Or there's a theory that God makes them tell the truth sometimes. This is valid. I'll give you an example. That event that occurred in 2020, we all know what it was. That was manufactured. It was. Since then, and in different ways, many of the people that were part of it flat out admitted that, yeah, we did this. It's almost like they have to tell you, the people in charge, the people doing the evil, the narcissist, it's almost like they have to tell you what they're doing sometimes. It's very odd. But that doesn't explain everything. I don't think any of these possibilities explain everything. So why the narcissist still tells the truth sometimes, that's always going to be a mystery at some level. How about this one? I think you guys can resonate. Do they actually think the next relationship will work or that the next person is the one, the person? Do they actually believe that or do they know full well from the beginning that it's not the case? Parts of me will say they don't believe that for 1 second. They know it's going to blow up. They know it's not going to work. It's just a game from day one. There's another part of me that says yes, they actually think that that next thing is going to save them, or that next thing is the best thing, or that's the person that they can make it work with. It's kind of both, in my opinion. And the reason is they know their track record. They know they're dark. They know they blow relationships up. They know, and probably deep down in their heart, that this is not going to work because nothing ever works. Yet, they slip further and further into delusion. And in their delusional thinking, I actually believe that at least for a period, a brief period, sometimes they have encountered a person that they actually think, I can get it right with this person. This can be the one. I know the 9,000 before this didn't work, but this one can. I've learned my lessons. I'm changing. I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm going to get it right. I think a part of them actually thinks that's the case. But then another part, because they're split. These people are fractured. And they're fractured not just into two pieces, but a bunch of different pieces. That's why when you talk to the narcissist, you literally don't know who you're going to talk to next. Is this going to be the person who's highly abusive? Is this going to be the person who's high on supply and giddy to see me and talk to me? Is this going to be some person who's acting really just weird and distant? What am I going to get? It's like on Ghostbusters, when he meets her, she's rising off the bed. Have you seen that part? And he's like, I think there's at least two of you in there. Well, with a narcissist, there's like at least 10 of them in there. So, do they actually think, though, that the relationship will work? I'm fuzzy on it. I don't think it's discernible. They do and they don't. They know deep down that it won't, but they gaslight themselves into thinking that it will. This is the warped mind of the narcissist. This is fun to talk about, but this is why if you actually think you're going to crack that code and just thoroughly understand what these things are, no, you're not. No, but on to the next. This is a nice one. Does the narcissist know that they are a narcissist? Classic. This might be the age-old narcissistic question. I think sometimes they do know that they're the narcissist. And I'll tell you one way that they do. They just, everyone I've encountered has to accuse other people of being a narcissist. I was the narcissist. Their exes were the narcissist. And that is admission by projection. That's what it is. And I know that's sketchy though, because we would say to people we talk to that our ex was a narcissist. We would be telling the truth, and we're not that. So it gets strange, it's so muddled. But when they tell you that you are or someone else was, that's them telling on themselves. But in their warped minds, I think they kind of believe that their ex was the narcissist, and they kind of believe you are, because they're not going to fully accept that. Just like the last thing. It's like they know it, but they gaslight themselves into ignoring it. This is the demonic gaslighting that goes on in their lives. Deep down, they understand. Another way that I think they reveal that is they'll use terms that are just narcissistic in nature. They will tell you they have backups. That's a narcissistic thing, backup supply. They'll tell you they can't regulate their emotions. Heard that from the ones I've dealt with. I can't regulate. I just get upset. I just get worked up and I can't regulate. That's a way of them telling you, I realize I cannot regulate my own emotions. That's true of toxic and narcissistic people. They have to know that. So I think it's evident, it's clear that sometimes they actually know it and sometimes they don't. I think their ego will not allow them to accept that they are, even though they know it. This is why the mask exists. Remember? The mask fundamentally exists as this ultra projected ego that is to gaslight themselves and the rest of the world into thinking they're something else. They develop this persona to cancel out what they actually are or to cover over it. So it's like they know it, but then they make the gaslighted mask ego, and then they convince themselves that, oh, it's not me, it was my ex, it was you, it was everybody else. This is the warped, schizophrenic kind of mind of these people. They're so spiritually corrupt. So do they know they're narcissists? Again, I've got to say yes and no. And it's probably that some of them truly know it, and some of them probably don't know it. They just do these things because they're so entitled. They just operate out of full entitlement all the time. Everyone owes them something. And that's my next video, actually, is about how they treat everybody like toys because they're so entitled. They just operate with this grandiosity all the time. Even if they're a covert, you've seen this. They still think they're so special and they're the center of the universe. And they develop this story where they are the only character that matters. So they blind themselves to the reality, yet they also kind of know it. Here's the last, and I think the best one. This is the one I fundamentally, I know why they do this, but I can't wrap my mind around why anybody would do this, if that makes sense. And that is, how they can have truly amazing people in their lives right in front of them, value right in front of my face, and still choose to blow it up. And what I mean is, sometimes you guys may have been that. You know if you were or not. I know that I was. Sometimes they encounter a person of the light, especially, that is just special in nature. They are not built like the rest of the world. They have love and empathy and kindness, and they're interesting. They have depth of character. And that's one of the things we discount. I've mentioned this before, but the narcissist will admit, oftentimes, if you're this kind of person, they'll say, "God, you're just so much more interesting than other people I've dealt with." Like nobody thinks that way. Who says that stuff? You're thinking about things that most people are just like, just going through the world. And that's not a brag on myself. It's for all of us who are like that. So they know that they have someone truly special and truly unique, unlike they've probably ever had and unlike they will probably ever have again. And somehow in their warped, screwed up minds, they figure, but you know what? I'm gonna blow this one up too. I gotta do it. I have to do it. And they do. So I know the answer to this. They have to do it by nature of their mental and spiritual disorder. They can't have stability. They hate stability. They thrive in chaos. They cannot, in principle, allow things to go well. They will destroy it. And if you think that they're going to get it right with the next person or ever, you're just totally wrong. If you think that it looks like they're getting it right, you're totally wrong. Just wrong. By nature of their spiritual disposition, it is impossible for them to get it right. And they know it. So that's why they blow up even the best things they have in the world. But I still can't wrap my mind around how they do it. Maybe some of you have thought, not in an arrogant, narcissistic way, you're just being objective. You're like, look at this person's track record, their history, who they've had in their lives. They shouldn't deserve a chance with someone like me. And they got it, and they still destroyed it. How? How could they look at the situation they had in me or in you, as good as it was, and probably knowing they're never going to experience this again? Maybe they gaslight themselves into thinking they will. But anyway, people amaze me, especially the narcissists, when they have value, immense value, right in front of their faces, to the extent that they will never touch again. They've never experienced. At least it's a top one or two thing in their lives, and they just sabotage it. I will never understand how people can do that. So anyway, guys, I hope that you found this interesting. These are the 5 things that I will never understand. If you have explanations to any of these, then drop comments below. I'll run fast through them real fast, just so you're refreshed. I don't understand why many of them chose to go this way. I don't understand why they tell you the truth sometimes. I don't fully understand if they think the relationship next one will work, if they do or don't believe that. I don't understand fully if they know they're narcissists. And I for sure don't understand how they can blow up the best things they ever have. So, guys, I hope you found it interesting. Look forward to hearing your comments. Thanks to the new subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please consider doing that. It does help to get the information out and to grow the community. So, anyway, guys, I appreciate it. Come at you with another one soon. Until then, God bless.